This universe is only one of an infinite number.
You're looking for a way to the AlphaVerse.
Bayonetta 3 just confirmed the AlphaVerse, which was the bombshell that changed the world of Bayonetta forever. The first route is the Multiverse Route, where we have variants of Bayonetta finally coming onto the big screen, where the AlphaVerse is essentially the concept of multiple timelines. Kamiya has previously mentioned parallel timelines, so there is direct proof of parallel universes in the Bayoverse, unless they retcon it. Anything you see highlighted in blue is the quote-unquote AlphaVerse. In our world, we'd call this the Multiverse, but I think for researchers in the Bayonetta lore, they've come up with the label AlphaVerse.
The multiverse is a concept about which we know frighteningly little.
Multiverse is real.
I tried playing Shiba's advocate, saying these aren't Bayonetta variants, trying to justify how they can be other new characters. On the eShop description, thank you so much to Shihab, you're an MVP as well. They surprisingly reveal that they are going to modern China, and most importantly, a virtual coven of Bayonettas, each more fabulous than the last, is coming to Bayonetta 3. But I still hope they don't do that Quicksilver, Ralph Boner troll like how they did in WandaVision. Like, can you imagine if they were all Bayonetta variants at first, and then they end up being just normal brainwashed Umbran witches or just warriors in general? I think that would have been very disappointing. They do explicitly say also that Viola is an Umbran witch, but we still don't know how she became one even after the witch hunts. Of course, the star of this description is that there is a virtual coven of Bayonettas. They name dropped it. So there might be an Illuminati of some sorts in the Bayoverse. I'm looking at you MCU fans, Krillian, if you're there. With the initial look of the box art, shoutouts to Jackie, you're an MVP. You can interpret the Mother Maiden Crone symbol with the 3 Bayonettas or the 3 Cerezas, probably hinting a sort of no way home scenario where all these Cerezas will fight together in towards the end of Bayonetta 3. Thank you so much to one of our subscribers, Flora, who mentioned to me that Mother Maiden Crone could also be Viola, Cereza, and Rosa, since Rosa is a good contender for that Enochian chant at the end. So if you zoom in, they place a few new quote-unquote characters in the backgrounds of even the Bayonetta 1 and 2 pages. So will they actually do something with the timeline that causes changes in events of the timeline, or will these characters time travel to these points in time like a sort of time heist where they need to recruit certain characters to help the Brave timeline? We do have the Umbran clock tower in the background of Bayonetta 3, which could indicate either huge callbacks to the witch hunts or us going back to those events again. Or realistically, it's just box art. Lamau. But we have Mad Hatter John, Rabbit John using her bow as the ears of a rabbit, and Red Queen John, which are references to Alice in Wonderland. Big shout out to Only Bayonetta for thinking of this as well. Now, I would love for these to be John variants of the multiverse because it's confirmed that there is a coven of Bayonettas that'll be shown very soon. Therefore, logically, there must be other John variants out there too. Now, also bringing it back a bit, these could just be John that we see in the second trailer, but in different outfits. However, John of the respective games are already shown on the cover art, so it's likely that these could be variants. Or another realistic theory, these could just be new characters that we have never seen before. I will point out, however, the Red Queen character has a very long gun, but it also looked very similar to the first Lumen King's sword. Could this be another Lumen Sage, or could it be the first Lumen Sage that they see in history while time traveling? That's quite awesome. That was our 50th episode, so if they do end up exploring the past where all the first Umbran Witches and first Lumen Sages are, that is a dream come true. You also have the additions of the chainsaw looking apparatus, Viola's Demon Cheshire summon, this homunculi looking creature, Phantasmarane, and you even have Rosa hidden in the background. But I have a sliver of hope that they will restore the balance of the sacred timeline, or the main timeline, sorry, before all the time travel shenanigans, and that's the reason why there's so many callbacks to the previous games. And of course, I'd absolutely love to see Adult Loki or Loki return, which I know Eternity is hoping for as well. One of the reasons why I think they are planning to reset the timeline is the clue of the chainsaw apparatus. Like in Bayonetta 1, it's a common joke that Radahn doesn't wish to make Bayonetta chainsaw arms, even though he eventually does with the torture attacks and with Salamandra. But will there be something along the lines of him changing his mind and not waiting until Bayonetta 2 to make Bayonetta's arms into chainsaw, or sorry, Cereza's arms into chainsaws, and that's because of the timeline being reset. Also, the Arcane Alliance they say at the end, likely referring to Cereza and Viola. I wishfully theorize this is secretly hinting the Coven of Bayonettas, or at least the 2 to 3 Bayonettas in the past games all teaming up together to fight whoever the antagonist is. Funny coincidence, by the way, maybe Kamiya did this on purpose because he is a fan of the MCU and Marvel Comics. Both Tilda Swinton, who played the Ancient One, and Sigurd both have similar features, and both dropped the concept of the multiverse for the very first time in their respective franchises, which I think is a pretty cool accidental reference.
This universe is only one of an infinite number.
You're looking for a Bayoverse.
Just for some context, Kamiya is a fan of Loki, which first name-dropped the terms Variance, Nexus Event, and the Sacred Timeline. But the most important one is Variance, which we've been using since the 2021 trailer. It's just the most easiest way to differentiate different alternate beings from different timelines. So that alternate The End Cereza is a variant. The Bloody Fate Bayonetta, variant. If Brave Cereza is real, variant. Menu Screen 2 Cereza, variant. Heck, the 8-bit Bayonetta, variant. And of course, the Bayonetta we know and love being the variant that we've been following since 2009. I don't believe Platinum Games are allowed to use the word or term variant since MCU already uses it, so they may use a different name that'll drop during this conversation. Also, I am so thankful that a lot of you have been using the terms Brave Cereza and variants like how we've been using all this time. Every time I see a lot of you guys comment or tweet Brave Cereza, I just smile knowing that you've watched a lot of our videos. I like to name unknown things just like how you would do in quantum or astrophysics, since it's the best way to describe it in one word. I say Bella Porch Bayonetta for now, since we don't have a name, and two, obviously for the huge resemblance to one of her hairdos. We use Brave in Brave Cereza since that's the main differentiator between her and what our Bayonetta failed to do 500 years ago. Okay, the second route is the most fan-servicey one, and personally my least preference, and that is the Platinumverse route, the multiverse of IPs, which on the bright side, a few franchises have already been doing and have been leading up to in the past few years. We've talked about this before on why this has been kept so secret all this time, but this route is a little different, where in this interpretation, I theorize the AlphaVerse to be the space between universes. All you see that's in blue is the AlphaVerse, the sort of no man's land between Platinum Games IP. So think of the Yokoverse, the Astralverse, the Metal Gearverse, the DMC-verse, and so on as planets, while the AlphaVerse is the vacuum of space in between. I like to think that in this route, they just refer to it as such because that's how far they've come up in their research at this point in time, even if they are super advanced. Therefore, I'm thinking Sigurd, or whoever this being is, obviously has been equipped with advanced medical technology, has observed and detected disturbances in the universe, possibly using his tech. Like if they dropped some sort of dialogue like,
"A gargantuan energy surge was detected in the fabric of the AlphaVerse, as if a pocket universe was mysteriously reset by two very advanced intelligent life forms,"
obviously hinting to Nier Automata's ending E, where the world was reset, I will absolutely lose my shit. Like, even if this is my least favorite route, I'd still be a little hyped if they dropped that sort of reference. You have the same name of the homunculi with the ones in Astral Chain, and I am hoping for these to just be references to each other. Homunculi has been used in ARGs, and I hope a lot of them aren't directly coming into the Bayoverse. But in the very small chance that they are connecting universes or IPs, I wouldn't introduce any sort of characters into the Bayoverse just yet. Since they just introduced the concept of the multiverse, I would just put out small references for this game or that game, and save the actual canon crossover for future games like that Bayonetta 4 idea that Kamiya mentioned before. You remember those airport carriers with B1, B2, space, then B4, then B5? I previously said that Bayonetta 4 to 5, if they do make it possible, would be an entirely different saga, hence the space in between. So maybe Bayonetta 4 to 5 will be about the Platinumverse, or at least fixing the multiverse of IPs. In the MCU, they didn't just go straight to Loki or No Way Home about multiverses. They've already toyed with the concept of branching timelines and the multiverse, dropping it first in Doctor Strange with the Ancient One in 2016, 4 years before the actual multiverse was shown. You then have the third route, which is a huge mix of both theories, where it's just in complete chaos. Like that scenario with the city's soul being sucked away. It really reminded me of the incursions that you see in Sinister Strange's universe, where its universe is just muddled up with chaos due to so much crossing over with other timelines. There is a fourth route, which I think is the most simple and straightforward. It is just another dimension where these homunculi were made. It's separate from the Trinity of Realities, essentially completing the quarter-cut cake of the Bayoverse, because Bayonetta did once say,
"Haven't you figured it out yet? There's no quarter for you in this world."
And I always thought that fourth quarter was purgatorial, but maybe it was a hint to the AlphaVerse that even Bayonetta or Cereza didn't even know about. As much as I don't prefer the Platinumverse, so many of us were saying the same thing with No Way Home, and lo and behold, Therefore, I am not going to deny the possibility of Dante or even 2B coming through a portal, as crazy as that sounds. Also, one of my personal headcanons is that 2B is a Bayonetta variant from the Yokoverse, and Dante is a variant of Radahn. Who knows, maybe Loki or adult Loki will have the ability to do that with his portal magic. I'm rockin', and never get disheartened.